Regents Review number 18. In this question, you're asked to compare the median, the mean, the range of these two separate companies. The best way to do that is to use your TI-84. In order to calculate these means, median, and modes, we need to enter the data into our stat, edit, list. Now, I'm not going to enter both of these data sets at the same time. Depends on what the question is asking about. The first choice is about their salaries. So it says the median salaries in both companies are greater than $37,000. So I'm only going to enter the salaries into list 1. So $30,000, $32,000, $35,000, and $38,000. Once those digits are entered, I'm going to stat calc 1 var stats. I want the 5-number summary for just these digits. Let's see. The mean is X bar, and the median is off the screen here at MED. So it looks like the median for this company is $33,500. I don't even need to check the company 2 because company 1 is not correct. So I can cross it off as a possible option. Number 2 asks about the mean of the salaries. So I still have the salaries for company 1 listed. I can go back and calculate the 1 var stats, and I can see that the mean for company number 1 is X bar is 33,750. So 33,750 is company number 1. Now I'm going to put the data for company number 2 into list 2. So 29,000, 35,500, 37,000, and 65,000. And when I calculate my stat calc this time, I'm going to change this from L1 to this blue L2 by pressing second 2. Now when I calculate the 5-number summary, I will get the data for company 2. So the mean, or the X bar, for company number 2 is 41,625. So this is not true. The next question asks us about the range. Well, it looks like company number 1 goes from 30 to 38, so that's a range of 8,000. And it looks like company 2 goes from 29 to 65, which is much bigger than 8,000. So the salary range in company 2 is greater than the salary range in company 1 is definitely true. In order for me to answer this question, number 4, I'd have to enter the workers' ages into my stat edit list. For question number 2, you're asked which point is not represented on the graph of y equals x squared plus 3x minus 6. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type this equation into my y equals button, and then I'm simply going to look at the table of points, second graph, and here I can find negative 6 does map to 12, negative 4 does map to negative 2, positive 2 maps to 4, but 3 does not map to negative 6. Question number 3 asks us which situation can be modeled by a linear function. Linear functions have a constant rate of change. So that means no doubling, no tripling, and no percentages. So if you grow at 5%, you are not linear. If you double, you are not linear. If you charge a base amount plus something the same every minute, then you are linear. The last one is wrong because it is a factor of 1/3. No multiplying, no dividing, only adding a constant value. Number 4 asks you what the average rate of change is from the age of 20 to the age of 80. Anytime I see rate of change, I know I'm going to be using this formula. All I have to do is use the correct x and y values. So from age 20 to age 80. So that's 2.3 minus 4.7 over 80 minus 20. So I'm going to take my calculator out. I'm going to open my fraction button, alpha y equals, and I'm going to type the whole math problem into the calculator as a fraction. 2.3 minus 4.7 over 80 minus 20, and I get negative 0.04. Number 5 asks us about an arithmetic sequence. An arithmetic sequence is a linear function which also can follow the arithmetic sequence formula, which is that you take the initial value and you add the common difference times n minus 1. You can find that on your formula sheet. So, if I know that the third term is 10 and the fifth term is 26, then I need to figure out what the formula is by finding the answer in the first position and the common difference. So I can see that in 2 moves, I have grown by 16. And I need to figure out, if I split that into 2 moves, how much is each additional amount. So if I add 8, I'd get 18. If I add 8 again, I'd get 26. So the D value is 8. So I can erase and replace that with an 8. Now if I work my table backwards and I subtract 8, then I can get my initial value, A1, as negative 6. Now if I simplify this formula, I can get one of these answer choices. Negative 6 plus 8n minus 8, or 8n minus 14. Number 6 asks you which system of equations can be used to represent this formula about a football player's earnings. It states that McGee's earnings were 0.05 million more than those of Fitzpatrick's. So McGee earns more than Fitzpatrick, right? They're not equal. McGee earns more. So if I added 0.005 to Fitzpatrick, then I would get McGee. Another way of saying that is F plus 0.05 equals M. So it doesn't matter which way I write it. I know I'm looking for this statement, so it's one of these. Now, we need to read that the 2 players earned $3.95 million together. So McGee plus Fitzpatrick makes 3.95. Number 7 asks, which equation represents a vertical line? Well, you are diagonal if you are a y equals x statement. And you are diagonal if you are a y equals negative x statement. So anytime you have both letters, you're diagonal. So this one is out. This one is out. The next are the items that have undefined slopes and 0 slopes. Undefined, right? If you are falling to your death, we like to put those little X eyes on that character because it means you're an X-only statement. And yes, you could ski, but it would be 0 fun, and that is a Y-only statement. So a vertical line has an x-only equation. Number 8 asks you for the line of best fit for this set of data. We will need to enter this data into our TI-84 calculator so we could calculate that line of regression. I've gone ahead and entered all of the carbohydrates into list 1 and the calories into list 2, and I'm missing a digit here, so I have to fix that. And double check, my data is now correct. I can go back to the Stat button, arrow over to Calc, and choose number 4, Lin Reg. Press Enter 5 times, and there are my numbers. They ask us which one represents the line of best fit, so when I look at my values, I see that my rate of change is 14.1 and that my initial value is 5.8. So that means option number 4. Number 9 talks about opening a retirement account with an initial value of $36,500. She grows at a rate of 7% compounded annually, so that rate is 0.07 as a decimal. She made no deposits or withdrawals, and we want to know how much she'll have at the end of 20 years. So the time is 20. This is an exponential growth formula, so we know that our equation will be the principal amount that she put in, so we'll call that the initial value, P. We need to know the rate and the length of time, because the amount is equal to the principal times 1 plus or minus the rate raised to the t power. Our principal is 36,500. Our growth is increasing, so we put a plus sign at 7%, and the length of time is 20 years. Now I can enter this into my graphing calculator on the main math screen. 36,500 times 1 plus 0.07 raised up to the power of 20. Looks like we have 141,243. Number 10, Rhonda deposited $30,000 in an account at the bank. It earned 4.2 interest compounded annually. She made no withdrawals or deposits. Write an equation that can be used to find B, her account balance after T years. So B is the balance, and it needs a principal amount put in, and 1 plus or minus the rate for T years. So I know the rate is 4.2%, but I have to remove the percent sign. So I move the decimal 2 places to the left, giving me 0.042. Now I need to take out this minus sign because the account is earning interest. Guy and Jim work at a furniture store. Guy's paid $185 per week plus 3% of his total dollars. So he gets $185 plus 3% of his total dollars, right? So there's our equation. Oops, G of X. And Jim is paid $275 per week with 2.5% of his sales. So his equation is 275 plus 0.025x. Determine the value of x in dollars that will make their weekly pay the same. Well, that means I want to know when will G, Guy, be the same as F for Jim. So if G is 185 plus 0.03x and F is 275 plus 0.025x, then I just want to know when they're equal. And all I have to do is solve this simple equation. I think I'm going to subtract 0.025x from both sides, giving me 185 plus 0.005x equals 275. I'm going to subtract 185 from both sides, giving me 0.005x equals 15. Which is going to give me 90. And then I can divide by 0.005. So x is 18,000. So when they earn $18,000, they will make the same amount. And that concludes Regents Review number 18.